Hey, Tom the Nutritionist here with Whole Life Nutrition, and I'm here in Bellingham, Washington with Pamm Larry from Prop 37 in California. Pam, tell us a little bit about yourself. So what's the past of Pamm Larry?
I call myself the initial instigator for Proposition 37 and the chief rabble-rouser too, and I'm done being the initial instigator, but I'm rabble-rousing up here in Washington.
Yeah, helping us out with Initiative 522.
Yes, yes.
So what exactly is Initiative 522?
522 is the next version, the improved version of Prop 37, and it's up here to get labeling in Washington State. It's up for the vote this next month, and it's very exciting to be up here and see all this wonderful energy and positiveness and lessons learned from Prop 37 all pointed towards winning up here.
Fantastic. And if people are wanting to have GMOs labeled here in Washington State, what are some of the key things they can do to promote that?
Okay, the most important thing is to talk to each other. Right now the numbers are very positive, and so it's about keeping the votes that we have. Another thing is to go to the I-522.com site and read about the myths and facts so that you can help dispel any confusion, because the opposition is a master at confusion. That's their goal, and they do it really, really well with all their dollars. So if you have the truth to share with people, then they'll understand the ways in which these chemical companies and junk food companies are confusing them so that they don't vote in their best interest in what they really want to vote.
So could you tell us some of the key arguments against Initiative 522 right now?
Sure. So the opposition, I'll talk a little bit about something called the exemptions. One of the things that people need to know is that laws are complicated and they have to fit in other laws and gel. So you might hear that alcohol doesn't have to be labeled, but that apple juice does. This is because apple juice apples are starting to be genetically engineered and will be on the market soon. Alcohol, however, comes under a whole different set of laws that we can't touch as states. You'll hear that dog food will have to be labeled, but your steak will not. First of all, that's not true up here. If you go look for yourself, read the law in Washington. It says that food, the definition of food legally is for things that people eat. In California, the definition included pet food. Doesn't seem to up here from what I can read. And so they're just rehashing old stuff to confuse people. But even in California, it wasn't the meat that would have needed to be labeled, it was the soy and the corn. Another one you'll hear is that your pizza will have to be labeled if it comes, you know, from a grocery store, oh my God, but not if you get it from a restaurant or a takeout place. But when was the last time you ordered a pizza from a takeout place and it came with a label? So this is a labeling initiative for things that are labeled and that are genetically engineered themselves. One more thing that people who support labeling need to know is that we cannot label things that eat genetically engineered foods. This is about one issue, and the one issue that it's about, initiatives are like that. You can only talk about one thing. So this is about things that are genetically engineered themselves. So the salmon that's getting poised and ready to be put on the market will be labeled genetically engineered cows that aren't genetically engineered yet, but that eat genetically engineered food cannot be covered. So this is the first step. It's an important step, and then we have more work to do. Yeah.
So the unknown is this genetically modified food?
Well, the unknown is the science, which is, you know, we've been being told forever, you know, by I call it bot science, that is promulgated by these chemical companies and junk food companies, you know, so that they can make more money. That's the data, you know, the stuff that they use, and they don't share their raw data, and we're supposed to trust them after years of them withholding the truth. For instance, did people know that Philip Morris owns Kraft and General Mills? This is tobacco science, as I hear people call it so much. So this is the science that's being used, and I don't trust it. So that's what it is.
So what I'm hearing then is that we've been told genetically modified foods are safe. We've been told there is no risk for our human consumption. And we know from the data now that the average United States citizen is consuming 193 pounds in genetically modified food per year per person, and over 70% of all processed foods have genetically modified ingredients in them. And you're saying you're fearing it because the science that's saying it's safe, quote unquote, may not be accurate, and it may promote industry more than it promotes human health. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And I would like to echo my concern as a person who has a few degrees in sciences to say, I have not seen a single human safety study. There are no double-blind, placebo-controlled trials that have been done on the safety of genetically modified foods. So as a person who would like to validate what the industry is telling me, it's impossible. And what I've also seen is in the animal studies have been done for short duration, 90-day safety trials. And now that we're seeing the longer safety trials coming out with adverse effects, we're seeing that the adverse effects occur at 120 days and beyond. So if all the safety data was on 90 days, then perhaps these aren't safe. So something to consider. What is your concern 5 years out if I-522 does not pass in Washington State?
Oh, wow. Well, I basically, I can call it the oops factor, where more and more foods will be genetically engineered to the point where, you know, without any kind of a market balance, without people being able to affect change if they want to do that, without being able to choose what they want to do because everything's hidden. We in this country are supposed to have the right to buy to transparency. We're supposed to have basic human rights, and those are being violated right now because of corporate interests to hide what they're selling us so that we're forced to buy instead of having a true choice to buy. So this is one of the things that I'm really concerned about with just consumers' rights, and it'll be a huge victory for the opposition. They can say, well, look at every time they get to vote, they vote no, when in fact it's a very complicated yet simple issue of basic human rights versus corporate rights.
So what are some of the foods on the docket right now that will become genetically modified that we probably aren't all thinking about?
Right. Well, apple's one. I mentioned that. Plums are really close to the pipeline. I imagine people know about the salmon, the first genetically engineered salmon, but I'll reiterate that. The first genetically engineered animal. There are things called enviropigs that are being marketed. There are tons of fish. I don't even know the exact number, but it's not just the salmon. It's basically all kinds of fish will then be on the market. I know that the broccoli was just approved for something in Europe. I can say I've seen the papers of all the different foods that are being experimented on for genetically engineered traits, and it basically covers every food I've ever eaten.
So what I'm hearing then is that the science has never really proven that this is safe. In fact, Andrew Kimbrough had a lawsuit, and they found in that lawsuit internal EPA memos that the scientists agree that they've never proven these safe. In fact, they were concerned about adverse effects from these products. And yet, we're all eating them, and they're now going to start systematically increasing the amount of foods that we are eating that are genetically modified. And we don't know the health repercussions because there are no human studies. And yet we're seeing pandemic increases of insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, obesity, autoimmune disorders, bipolar disorder. And no one has ever really looked to see if perhaps some of the items, either the genetically modified foods or the pesticides associated with genetically modified foods, might be contributing to this. And we have a chance right now. We have a chance to stand up and say enough. We would like a choice. We would like a choice now. So if you'd like to do something, it sounds like we need to get out. We need to talk to people. We need to call people.
Phone banking. Go to yeson522.com, sign up to volunteer. You'll be taken to a page that'll hook you into the phone banking system. Talk to your neighbors, talk to people on the other side of the state. Please, we need you. One of the big things that happened in California is people got complacent. They thought it was a no-brainer. They thought they didn't have to do anything because it was in the bag. So we can't let that happen again. So please join us on the streets and in your homes making phone calls.
The time is now, gang.
You bet.
Yes on I-522.